Okay, let's get into this. You sent over some really interesting material digging into these simple everyday things we do that might actually be affecting how our bodies burn fat.
Yeah, it was fascinating stuff. We've gone through it all, those articles and notes you shared.
And our goal here is really to pull out the key insights, the things that made us go, aha, especially those surprising links between, tiny habits and bigger effects.
Absolutely. What's really striking is how this material connects these seemingly small daily actions to some pretty fundamental biology.
Exactly. It's not suggesting massive overhauls, right?
hmm
More about understanding these little levers our bodies have.
hmm And the material kicks off with something really basic: sleep. Or, more accurately, the lack of it.
Right. The findings you shared, they really highlight that not getting enough sleep triggers some significant reactions. First off, metabolism seems to slow down.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's like the body thinks, okay, maybe resources are scarce or there's danger, so it goes into this energy-saving mode, trying to conserve fuel.
Which isn't ideal if you're, trying to burn it efficiently.
hmm
Puts the brakes on things.
Precisely. And then there's another layer: cortisol, the stress hormone.
Hmm.
Lack of sleep tends to push those levels up.
Okay, and this is where it gets really practical and maybe a bit annoying.
hmm
What does that cortisol surge do to us, according to the material?
Well, it seems to directly ramp up our appetite, specifically cravings for high-fat, high-sugar foods.
So evolutionarily, maybe that made sense after escaping a threat needing quick energy.
Possibly, yeah. But today, when being tired is more likely from, like, staying up late watching something or work stress.
That same cortisol surge just makes us crave junk food.
Exactly. It creates this difficult cycle. You're tired, cortisol rises, you want unhealthy food, you eat it. Maybe that messes with sleep even more.
Wow. So just not getting enough rest can directly mess with hormones that make us want the stuff that's counterproductive. That's a powerful connection your sources pointed out.
Def-
Okay, so moving from sleep to, well, what a lot of us do most of the day.
Sitting.
The material you sent had some pretty strong things to say about that.
It really did. It wasn't just about lack of movement. It linked prolonged sitting directly to increased risks for pretty serious conditions like type 2 diabetes.
And even premature death. It wasn't just neutral, it was actively detrimental.
Yeah, that was the implication. Even if you exercise later, the sitting itself seems to have its own negative impact.
That's sobering. And there was that specific detail, that amazing number about standing versus sitting at work.
Oh yeah, the figure mentioned was burning about 100 more calories per hour just by standing instead of sitting.
100 calories an hour. You do that for even part of an 8-hour workday. And that really starts to add up over time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a simple swap with a potentially significant cumulative effect.
And the material explained the why behind it too, right? Something about a muscle enzyme.
Exactly. It mentioned lipoprotein lipase. This enzyme's role, particularly in muscles, is basically to grab fat from the bloodstream and break it down for energy.
Like little fat-burning engines in our muscles.
You got it. But here's the kicker your source has highlighted. What happens when we sit still for a while?
How long does it take for those engines to quiet down?
The material suggests that after just 20 minutes or so of continuous sitting, the activity of this enzyme drops significantly.
20 minutes. That's it. The fat-burning machinery just powers down.
Seems like it. The body interprets the stillness as no need for fuel right now.
And the simple fix suggested in the material.
Just stand up, move around a bit, break up that sitting time. That simple action seems to be enough to wake those enzymes back up.
It's like flipping a switch back on, just by standing up. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And it offered some really practical, almost sneaky ways to make yourself move more, didn't it?
Yeah, little things like instead of emailing or calling a colleague nearby, actually walk over to their desk.
Or the one I like, move your trash bin across the room.
Right, so you have to get up every time you need to throw something away. Builds movement into unavoidable tasks.
Using daily friction for good. Okay, what about hydration? The material touched on that too. And the connection it made was, well, surprising.
Yeah, it pointed out this interesting overlap in the brain. The part that deals with hunger signals and the part that deals with thirst signals are processed very closely together.
And the result of that close processing.
Is that the brain can sometimes get the signals mixed up. It feels a need and defaults to thinking it's hunger, when actually...
You're just thirsty.
Exactly. So you might head for the fridge when really all you needed was a glass of water.
Okay, so the simple advice there was...
Keep water nearby, always accessible, a glass on the desk, a bottle you carry around, and just sip on it throughout the day, consciously.
And the benefit mentioned.
It helps reduce those times you find yourself mindlessly looking for snacks simply because your body was actually signaling thirst. Helps you tell the difference.
Makes total sense. Okay, your material also talked about tracking food intake. How does that fit into the picture?
The suggestion was using apps or even just a notebook to get a clearer picture of what and how much you're actually eating each day, including the calories.
So it's less about strict rules at first and more about just awareness, seeing what's really going on.
Pretty much. Just understanding the volume and, the types of food being consumed.
And the interesting side effect mentioned once you get used to seeing those numbers.
Was that it becomes sort of mentally harder to just casually eat huge portions of really calorie-dense foods without thinking. The example was like polishing off a whole tray of lasagna.
Right. The awareness itself starts to influence your choices almost automatically.
Yeah, it shifts your perspective and relationship with those larger portions. It's not about guilt, just knowing.
Knowledge is power, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, what about after eating? There was a specific suggestion for post-meal activity.
A brisk walk, about 15 minutes, ideally after each main meal.
And the reason for that,
Yeah.
what's the benefit cited?
The main point was helping blood sugar levels return to normal more quickly, maybe within about 3 hours after the meal.
Keeping blood sugar steadier, avoiding those big spikes and crashes that can lead to more cravings.
Exactly. Better blood sugar control is just generally good for metabolic health overall.
And if 15 minutes feels like too much after every single meal,
Yeah.
did the material offer any wiggle room?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It made a point that even 10 minutes, or honestly even just 5 minutes, still provides some benefit.
So the key is just breaking that sedentary period right after eating, even briefly. Consistency over perfection.
That seems to be the takeaway. Every little bit helps.
Now, stress and anxiety. Your sources brought this up with a really cool evolutionary angle.
Yeah, this was fascinating. It explained that, back in the day, stress usually meant a physical threat, running from something, fighting something.
Which would burn a ton of calories, right?
Absolutely. So the body's stress response was kind of hardwired to expect that physical exertion, and then
Yeah, it needed to replenish those calories afterwards.
precisely. The body would be primed to seek out food to recover the energy it just spent, or thought it spent.
But today, our stress often hits us while we're doing what?
Sitting still, at a desk, in traffic, worrying about emails or bills. It's usually psychological or emotional, not physical.
But the material suggests our ancient biology can still react the same way.
That's the idea. The stress response kicks in, hormones shift, as if we just outran a lion, even though we haven't moved.
And that makes us crave food to replace energy we never actually burn.
Right. It leads to that stress eating phenomenon. It's this biological mismatch, ancient wiring, in a modern sedentary context.
That really reframes why we reach for comfort food under pressure. It's not just psychological, it's this older mechanism misfiring.
Seems plausible based on the material.
Okay, lastly, for people who maybe hate the gym or just don't have long chunks of time, the material suggested an alternative exercise approach.
Yes. HIIT, high-intensity interval training, short bursts of really intense effort, followed by short rests.
And the key point about HIIT's effectiveness.
Was that even super short sessions, like just 7 minutes, done intensely? Maybe just body weight stuff at home on a mat can be really effective for fat burning.
7 minutes. That sounds almost too good to be true. But there was more to it, right? About the after effects.
Yeah, that was maybe the most intriguing part. The body apparently keeps burning calories and fat at a higher rate for up to 24 hours after that short, intense workout.
Wow, a 24-hour metabolic boost from just 7 minutes of hard work.
That's the claim. The material even mentioned how surprisingly tough those 7 minutes can be, like sweat to death tough, because the intensity is key to triggering that extended afterburn effect.
So it's short, but definitely not easy. That intensity flips a metabolic switch that stays on long after you stop.
Seems to be the principle. High effort, prolonged benefit.
Okay, so looking back at all these points from the material you shared, sleep, sitting, hydration, tracking, moving after meals, stress responses, HIIT, what's the common thread here?
I think the main theme is just how much these simple, often unconscious daily habits actually matter. They're not just neutral.
Right. Getting enough sleep, breaking up sitting, drinking water, being aware of intake, a short walk after eating, even short bursts of intense movement.
They're all constantly interacting with our basic biology, our energy balance, our fat metabolism. They're like little adjustment knobs we often don't realize we're turning.
And the relevance for you, the listener who sent this in, is that making impactful changes doesn't always mean radical, hard-to-sustain stuff.
Exactly. It can start with these smaller, practical tweaks you can weave into your day, working with your body's natural processes rather than fighting against them.
It's about awareness and optimizing what you already do. Less about deprivation, more about mindful adjustments.
It definitely reframes things.
So as we wrap this up, reflecting on all these insights from the material you provided, here's maybe a final thought to chew on. If just standing up regularly can apparently reactivate fat-burning enzymes, and only 7 minutes of intense effort can boost metabolism for a whole day, what other seemingly tiny everyday habits might be having these hidden profound effects on our fundamental biology, for better or worse?
Yeah. It really makes you wonder about the power hidden in the details of our daily routines, doesn't it? What else are we influencing without even realizing it?